Okay, so get ready because today we are taking a deep dive into OpenAI's latest and greatest, O1. And I gotta say, from the material we have here, this is not your average AI. This is something else.
It really is something else.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me is that OpenAI isn't just saying O1 is a step forward, an incremental improvement. They're saying it's a revolution in AI,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to this thing they call complex reasoning. That's been a real hurdle in the field, at least until now, it seems.
Totally. And it's not just talk. Remember that crazy complex cipher we were looking at before, the one that completely stumped GPT-4?
Right.
O1 actually cracked it. It's like it's playing on a whole other level.
Exactly. That's the perfect example of what makes O1 so different. It's all about this chain of thought process. It's kind of like, imagine you're trying to solve this really complicated puzzle. You wouldn't just magically know the answer, right? You'd have to try different pieces, make some notes along the way, maybe try a few different approaches.
Yeah.
O1, it actually tackles problems in a similar way, step by step.
So it's like O1 is actually showing its work, so to speak. It's thinking things through step by step instead of just spitting out a response.
That's a great way to put it. And the best part is that we actually get to see it in action. Let's go back to that cipher example. It starts by figuring out what kind of cipher it's dealing with, which in this case is the Playfair cipher.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, that one's notoriously difficult to crack. Then it goes on to...
Wait, hold on. Before we get too far into the technical weeds here, can you give us a quick explanation of what a Playfair cipher actually is? For those of us who might not be up to date on our cryptography.
You're right. A Playfair cipher, it's basically a type of encryption. It uses a grid of letters to hide a message, like a secret code. So each pair of letters in your message gets swapped out for a different pair of letters based on where they are in the grid.
Okay, so this Playfair cipher is no walk in the park to decode, but O1 still managed to crack it. But how? I mean, what is O1 doing that GPT-4 just couldn't do? Why did GPT-4 just completely freeze up?
This is where this whole chain of thought thing really makes a difference. Unlike GPT-4, which uses more of a brute force method, just trying every possibility, O1 is much more strategic. It's almost like how a human would approach it.
Okay, walk me through this. How does it actually crack the code?
Okay, so first, like we were saying, O1 correctly identifies what kind of cipher it's looking at, the Playfair. So that's step one. And from what we're seeing here in the materials you gave me, it then goes on to figure out how big the grid is. And it does this by looking at how long the encrypted text is. Already at this stage, it's showing a level of analysis that GPT-4 just wasn't capable of.
Now that is impressive. So it's like O1 is actually using logic and deduction to break this problem down. I mean, it's really kind of amazing to see this level of reasoning in an AI. But how does it know what steps to take? Is it like pre-programmed with all these code cracking skills?
That's the incredible part. O1 isn't trained on this massive data set of ciphers. Instead, it takes what it already knows, it's a broader knowledge base, and uses its reasoning abilities to figure out this very specific problem. It's like it's learned how to think for itself, It can take these general problem-solving skills and apply them to these very specific, challenging situations.
That is really something. It's like this chain of thought process. That's the key that unlocks this whole other level of understanding. But it's not just about ciphers, right? You said it yourself, O1 is making waves because of how well it's doing on all these different tests and benchmarks.
Exactly. It's not just a one-trick pony. O1 is doing incredibly well in all these areas that used to be, thought of as exclusive to humans.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, take how well it does on competitive programming questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How do you even test an AI on its coding abilities in the first place?
Well, there are these platforms that are designed specifically for these kinds of competitive programming challenges. They basically throw these really complex problems at you, and you need to have a really strong grasp of algorithms, data structures, all that good stuff to solve them.
So it's not just about writing code that works. It has to be elegant, it has to be efficient, and it has to hold up against the best of the best.
Exactly. And get this, in these competitions, O1 is consistently scoring in the 89th percentile.
Wait, the 89th percentile? You mean it's going head-to-head with some of the best human coders out there?
That's right. And we're not even just talking about raw coding skills here. Remember that GPQA Diamond benchmark we were looking at?
Right. That one sounded pretty intense. Refresh my memory. What was that one again?
Okay, so the GPQA Diamond is basically a test to see how well you understand some pretty advanced concepts in physics, biology, and chemistry. It's like this gauntlet of seriously tough science problems, the kind that would make even seasoned PhDs think twice.
Okay, yeah, so the bar is set pretty high for this one. So how did O1 do? Did it at least manage to keep up with the PhD brainiacs, or?
It surpassed them. O1 is officially the first AI to ever outperform human experts on this specific benchmark.
Wow, that's seriously impressive. But before we go crowning O1 with an honorary doctorate or something, it's important to remember this is just one benchmark, right?
Oh, absolutely. This isn't about AI replacing human experts or anything like that. It's more about the potential that O1 is showing with this whole reasoning thing. And speaking of potential, don't forget about O1's visual perception capabilities.
Oh, right. It's not just a brain in a box. This AI can actually see now, too, right? Or, well, not literally see, but you know what I mean.
Right, exactly. O1 can actually process and analyze visual information, and from what we've seen, it's actually getting really good at it. Like,
Mm.
you had that piece there about its performance on the MMMU benchmark. That's the one that measures this whole multimodal understanding.
Multimodal understanding. Okay. So that basically means it can take in different types of information, text, images, all that, and it can actually understand how they all connect together.
Precisely. And on this MMMU benchmark, O1 scored an impressive 78.2%.
78.2%. I mean, that's getting incredibly close to how humans perform.
It really is amazing how far AI has come in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And while O1 is a huge deal, a real game changer, it's good to remember to keep things in perspective.
Right. I mean, even OpenAI has said that while O1 is great at these really complex reasoning tasks, it might not be the best tool for every single job. Like, I don't see it writing any tear-jerking poetry anytime soon.
Exactly. There are still things that AI isn't quite there yet, especially when it comes to things that need a more nuanced understanding of language, things that require emotional intelligence. That's where models like GPT-4 still have the edge.
So it's all about picking the right tool for the task at hand. And I mean, who knows what the future holds? Maybe OpenAI is already cooking up something that combines the reasoning power of O1 with the language skills of GPT-4. Now that would be something
Oh,
else.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It would be incredible to see how those two could work together. But even on its own, O1 is a massive leap for AI.
Yeah, it's like we're seeing the birth of this whole new era of AI. One where machines can reason and think and solve problems at a level that, honestly, I don't think anyone thought possible, at least not for a while.
It's a really exciting time to be following this whole field, that's for sure. But with all this talk about benchmarks and percentiles and capabilities and all that, it's easy to get lost in the weeds,
Yeah.
Can't lose sight of the bigger picture here.
You're right. We've seen how O1 can decode ciphers, write insanely efficient code, even give PhDs a run for their money on these science problems. But what does it all really mean? How will all of this actually play out in the real world?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, the potential here is just massive. Imagine O1 helping scientists develop these groundbreaking new medicines or engineers building more sustainable infrastructure. I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless.
It's like having this army of super smart assistants working 24/7 to solve all these problems that have been plaguing us forever.
Exactly. And it's not just about solving the problems we already have. O1 could potentially unlock all these new possibilities that we haven't even thought of yet. Think about things like material science, space exploration, even art and music. Who knows where this could lead?
It's really exciting. It's like O1 is stretching the limits of what's possible, not just for AI, but for all of us. But I mean, with all this incredible potential, there are some pretty serious questions that we need to be thinking about as well.
Definitely. As AI gets more and more advanced, more powerful, we can't shy away from the ethical implications. How do we make sure that this technology is being used for good, that it's developed responsibly? How do we prevent these unintended consequences that nobody saw coming?
We can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend those questions aren't there. But it's also important to keep in mind that AI is a tool at the end of the day. And just like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It all depends on us, on how we use it.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these conversations so important, these deep dives. By really digging into these issues, by having these thoughtful discussions, we can hopefully make sure that AI is being developed and used in a way that benefits everyone.
I completely agree. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of OpenAI's O1, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this?
That's a good question. I think it comes down to this. O1 is like this huge wake-up call. It's showing us just how fast technology is moving. And while it's easy to get caught up in all the hype, all the excitement, or even the anxiety of it all, the most important thing is to stay informed, to stay engaged, and to never stop asking questions.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to everyone listening out there, Keep exploring these ideas, keep asking the tough questions, and keep pushing the boundaries because the future of AI, and honestly the future in general, depends on it.